These books sold for how much on eBay? We're going to take a look at some CGC 9.8s that recently sold on eBay for under $50. And we're going to take a look at maybe some of the reasons why and maybe opportunities to pick up books that you're interested in for a good deal. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Welcome, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, follow us on other social medias. Instagram at Bronzeville_comics. Whatnot, Bronzeville_comics. We do sales Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. There is a link in the description of this video. You can get $10 off your first purchase if you've not yet signed on with Whatnot, but you use the link to sign up, and you'll get $10 off your first purchase, which does not have to be for me. Also, in the description is a link to my eBay store as well as my email. Let's get rolling. And I'm in a rush because I already talked all my way through this video, without realizing I hadn't pushed the record button. So I want to take a look at recent sales, and not any particular books, but just books that I came across that sold for under $50 on eBay. Some of them were selling for considerably more. And there are some lessons to be learned, both in terms of books to avoid and maybe the opportunity to get a great deal on a book. And part of it too is you have to realize if there's a book that you're interested in, you want it for your personal collection. You want a 9.8 of that book. Maybe you're doing a run of 9.8s of a certain character, a certain title, whatever it is. Check out. Sometimes you can wait for the deal, especially if the book has a lot of supply. So let's jump right in and take a look at some of these books. Some of them are really interesting, and their appearance in the list will not surprise you in the least. I'm going to start with this book, Totally Awesome Hulk #1, which sold on a Saturday night auction for $26. First appearance of Lady Hellbender. This book got hot around speculation about the Amadeus Cho character. Let's see where it's been in the past in a 9.8. And we can see this book was kind of a nothing burger. And then it jumped up during the boom, $275, and then jumped further to $250 in October of 2021. And has since come crashing back down to earth. It did hold like $100 plus value for a while. And then it's just like this year, kind of this $39 sale in November last year or November 2022 set the bar very low. And then this $26 sale is even lower than all of the recent sales. But this book has had a hard time getting over $100. It's not a key, unless you're a big fan of Lady Hellbender. I think people were speculating on everything. And one of the things that maybe we learned from the comic boom, and if you go back and watch anybody's videos about, well, if you can't get the first appearance, there's a second appearance, there's the first solo story, there's the first solo title. And like Moon Knight's very indicative of that. We're Up by Night 32 is a key. Then 33, a second appearance. Marvel Spotlight 28, that book has come crashing down. And Moon Knight 1, that's come down as well. Because the first appearance, more people are able to afford that, and maybe people are making some more judicious decisions in terms of what they want to collect. Anyway, let's move on. Another book, a book that I have at a 9.8. This is a CBCS sale. Auction on a Saturday afternoon, ended for $25 for Oblivion Song #1. This is an Image book from 2018, written by Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible. So what spiked this book was that Jake Gyllenhaal was attached to it for potentially a TV series. And we can see here that the book started out in, early supply and demand. Somebody paid $116 for it. And then it was like in this, under $50 range. And then it jumped up, boom, $266 during the pandemic. And it has been coming down pretty much ever since. And right now, you can probably buy it for case cost. It's a book that's probably not even worth grading in a stone cold 9.8. It's a little bit cheaper and a little bit more certain to just wait for an eBay auction almost. I mean, they're looking, I mean, geez, the 3 of the last 4 sales of eBay auctions have been under $30. And that seems to be what people are willing to pay for it. Could it come back around in terms of speculation? Maybe. I had gotten a copy graded in a 9.8. I'm just kind of holding it in case. But if you're a fan of this series and you want a number 1 and a 9.8, it's affordable. Astonishing X-Men number 3, the first appearance and cameo of Abigail Brand. Abigail Brand, of course, was played by Emilia Clarke in the Secret Invasion TV series. And that has not really helped elevate the values of this book from 2004. There are only 500 copies on the census, only 57% of them in 9.8. But if we look at the sales of this book, again, it was nothing, a $15 sale, 13. And then it jumped up with some speculation, I guess, around the show, and all the way up to $250. And it has come down since. There was an aberrational sale of $150 just a few days ago, but like 3 days after that, a fixed price sells for $40. And, the month before that for $50. So I think people kind of avoiding this book, the speculation that was behind it has kind of come and gone. And I think a lot of people are wondering if we'll see that character again in the MCU. And again, it's a recent book. It's from 2004. So not something that people are generally going to be, paying high for 9.8s. Let's go to a book from the 80s. And this is Black Panther number 1, his limited series. This would be volume 2. Volume 1 was the 1970s series started by Jack Kirby. Auction on a Friday evening ended at $40. And if we look at this book, I think that's just an aberrational low sale. It doesn't sell a lot. The most recent sale, according to Go Collect prior to this, was back in October for $210. I think this book is more about $100 book in a 9.8. Yeah, probably about $100 to be fair. I think somebody just to auction, not a lot of eyes on it. It's not a really in-demand book. It ended at on a, what would that be, Friday night prime time. So I think this is indicative of that, first appearance, first cover, first. This is his second self-titled series. So it's a very minor key. So I don't think this. I think 40 is a little bit low, maybe, but again, not a book with a lot of legs, although it is a book from the 80s. Let's look at another one. And this is indicative of FOMO, speculation, MCU, and it's also some other aspect to it. It is Hawkeye number 1 from 2017, the first solo Kate Bishop title. I think that's her first cover appearance in costume, is it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not her first appearance. It sold for $30. And if we look at the trend of this book over time, we can see that nothing, 30, $50, $50, boom, up to $322 in June of 2021. And then the TV show comes out. Now we will see this character again. And it is a pretty cool character, but here's the issue with this book. 2,000 on the census, 1,300 9/8. Not that many people need 9/8. I think the problem, here's the thing. This is a typical book. Who are the end collectors of this book? Who are the people that need this book in a 9.8 in their collection versus those who saw an opportunity for a character that was coming into the MCU and everybody would want it? Who wants it ultimately? Who wants to keep it in their collection for the long term? And that's why a lot of modern books are different, especially minor keys are different than obviously silver, bronze, copper, even 90s books. There are plenty of them out there. You could get 9/8. There are people who have, there are just a lot of these out there. So, and again, it's not her first appearance. So there were a lot of these books. There's the Invincible Iron Man one, Riri Williams, not her first appearance. So I think that kind of speculation of trying to find all the books related to the character, kind of that key collector thing. Oh, Kate Bishop, it's this book, this book, this book, this book. If it's not the first appearance, I mean, it's a cool character, and the Haley Steinfeld is doing a bang up job, and I think we will continue to see the character in the MCU, but this is not the key. This is not the key. Let's look at another one, another plentiful book. Batman, number 497 from 1993, Bane breaking Batman's back. Now, there are some variants of this, but this sold 17 bids on an auction on a Thursday night for $49. And let's see where this book has been. This book kind of jumped occasionally over $100, but, has kind of maintained pretty solid in that like $75 range. So this was probably a decent bargain. Again, how many of them are there? 5,300 copies, 3,200 9/8. You swing a dead cat, you'll hit a 9/8 of this book at a show. I don't even know how many are available right now on eBay. How many would be? Let's just take a quick look. Batman 497 CGC 9.8. There's one auction $20. There's one for $84. One 3 days left $6. Somebody, a newsstand, okay, $300. 98 they want signed. Newsstand, $40. Nobody's bid on it. 83 was 95. Somebody can't chop that price enough. Is this the newsstand or just like the one without the sheet? I don't know. $80. So, I mean, you want a copy? Jump into an auction, make an offer. You can probably get one for like about $40. Just be patient. It's a plentiful book. That's one of the points of this video. Let's look at this book. This book kind of surprised me. Infinity Gauntlet number 4, this great George Perez cover. I had gotten this graded in 9.8. It sold at auction on a Monday night for $43. And we can see that this book, a Thanos book, it kind of went up to the height of the comic boom up to $150, and it's been coming down steadily ever since, up and down. The fixed prices seem to do better, like in the $80 to $100 range. The auctions more in the $50, $60 range, even back here in October, a $49 auction. This would be, again, a book that you can get a deal on rather than paying, $80 to $100. Maybe you get $40, $50. And it is an awesome cover. So an awesome George Perez cover. And I think there are a few collectors. There are probably a certain number of collectors out there that want the whole series in a 9.8 because that's something that's attainable to get the entire miniseries. All George Perez covers. Is it all Perez covers? Anyway, let's move on. Here's one. This is, this is a comic boom baby. Speculation, all the warning signs, all the things that people, FOMO, hot lists. Oh my goodness. First appearance, but it's a real first appearance. Thor number 1, first cover appearance of Jane Foster as Thor in continuity, sold for $45. Where has this book been? Oh, where has it been? It was, languishing under $100. And then all of a sudden, they're going to put her in a movie, $195. And it was jumping all over the place in the nearly $200 range. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's a 9.4. Don't even mind me. I had switched when I forgot to record the video. Let's look at 9/8. It's even, well, yeah. Oh, wow. Jumps up to 216, then back down in the 100, and then a slow climb up to a maximum of $373. And it stayed there. And then the movie came out. And it just went kaplooey. There have been a couple sales over $100 recently. Good for them. I made the mistake of buying a copy of this book heading into the movie, and I didn't get rid of it in time. I bought a CGC 9.8 already graded. My bad. I thought Portman did a great job as this character. I thought the movie was terribly uneven and didn't deliver what it should have on both her character and Gore. But that's neither here nor there. This is typical of the MCU spec that people were. I mean, if you go back and watch some videos, even of mine from like 3 years ago, you're going to be seeing, the Comic Tom, that this is the hot book. Everybody's jumping on this. There are 4,800 copies, universal copies, 3,309.8. How many people want this book in a 9.8 in their collection, right? Or because here's the thing, when it's driven by that kind of speculation, I'm going to ask this again, who are the end collectors? Who are the people that are going to have this staying in their collection until their heirs have to get rid of it, or until they're moving to Florida for retirement, as opposed to John Byrne or Dave Cockrum X-Men keys, or Bronze Age books, Silver Age books. Those aren't going to just completely disappear in value, but are there 3,300 collectors who need this in a 9.8 in their collection? Let's look at another one. And this is a FOMO book. Amazing Spider-Man 55, the Gleason Webhead variant. This was a rage when the book came out. And this is typical right here, of supply and demand, first to auction, right? As soon as people were getting 9.8s, it was selling for people who wanted it over $100. And then more books got submitted, and the people who already wanted it had it, or they submitted it themselves, and the price keeps coming down. One little aberration here. And then even look here, like in the last few months, another tail down, right? It's gone, to 40, 50, 30, 60, 30, 26 case cost for the most recent book. It is a cool cover. But again, look at the census, 4,500 universals, 3,800 9.8s. It's a book that's incredibly easy to find. And the other thing, too, is the interest is diluted because there was a second print, the second print Virgin. There was a third print Virgin. There was a Virgin. There was a second print, the inverse variant. There are just, do you want them all? Or do you, I know there's some collectors that have them all, but at a certain point you realize, do I need all of these variants of this one cover? Yeah, it's cool, but is it that cool? It's well under $100 now. I want to take a look at one more book, and this is Naomi #1 from DC. An auction ended for $41. Where has this book been? Oh, and this is DC book, so it follows kind of a different pattern than Marvel. There was no MCU spec. There was CW spec. CW spec that is a awfully murky pond to swim in. You can see this book when it first came out, FOMO, supply and demand. Somebody paid $350 for a 9.8. And then it kind of settled in the $100 range. Announcement of the TV show was back over $200 fairly consistently. And then the TV show came out. That was a dog of a show. And Naomi has been, kind of forgotten. She was a member of the Justice League. She was with the Young Justice. She had quite a few appearances, not so much recently. I do think this is a character that we could see again. I think, DC could use her in the comics. If they're going to use her in live action or not, I don't know. It's kind of an odd character for a superhero in that, she goes by her name. And there was kind of the mystery around her first appearance and how she might be connected to other superheroes. But I think kind of the luster's gone off that. Is this going to be a forgotten character, or is this going to be a character who's going to come out again? Again, 1,500 copies on the census, 1,200 9.8s. So there's plenty of supply there. Not as big a supply as some of those other books, just because this was an unknown character and I don't think there were a lot of copies of this sold. I don't think a lot of people jumped on Naomi, whereas Spider-Man 55, I mean, Amazing Spider-Man run, people have had it on their pull list for decades, so that's going to sell. Yeah, this is a kind of C-list DC book. So the biggest new mystery in the DC universe begins here. I don't think that the conclusion was satisfying on the TV show. My kids and I watched an episode and were thoroughly bored by it. I think we might have dragged ourselves through a second episode, but it wasn't something that we really highlighted as part of our weekly TV watching. And that's one of the dangers with CW speculation, which really doesn't exist anymore other than Superman and Lois. It's never paid off. It's never propelled characters nearly to the extent of the MCU. Well, see what the new DCU is going to do for characters. We already saw that some of the announcements, some of the more minor characters that Gunn is using have propelled their sales. One of the sticky things with DC is, you know, he announces a character and their first appearance is from 1940. So it's hard to, you know, it's Hawkgirl. Her first appearance was in Flash Comics 1, or I think All-Star Comics 6 as Hawkgirl. Nobody's buying, you know, there aren't many of those out there. So that's not something that people are going to invest in. But I think, again, who are the end collectors? Who are the people that are going to have in 5 years are going to want this as part of their collection, as opposed to just kind of, you know, jumping on speculation. Now, there's certainly the aspect of people who collect things that they're familiar with, that make a connection to them. So characters through movies and TV shows that people connect to, those characters, I can see wanting that first appearance. But when that doesn't happen, and especially when it's not the first appearance, like we saw with the Hawkeye book, I bet you, if we look at Invincible Iron Man 1 with Riri Williams, which is her first cover appearance in costume or some such, I think that's what the key significance of that is. This book here, I think we'll see something similar. Yep, look at it. There we go. Up to, you know, 230, up to 256. Last one sold for 41. This, I could have put that on this video very easily. It's not her first appearance. Again, I think that makes a huge difference. So let me know what you think of those books. I think part of it is, if there is a book that you want in your collection, be patient. 90% or more of the comics out there find their level and aren't huge keys that people are paying hundreds of dollars for in a 9.8. But you kind of have to get a sense, is Ultimate Spider-Man, Black Panther, X-Men, are those Ultimate books 2 years down the road gonna have an increase, or at least hold the value over what they have now? Always dangerous with brand new books and they just come to a 9.8, because there are plenty of more behind them coming out. That's the way I always feel about it. And if it's not a huge key book, just something you want in a 9.8, and, you know, especially for ratio variants, you can wait on it. And again, most of the time you'll be okay, unless the comic explodes. And there are some books, there's so many variants that, you know, who can collect them all? So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate it. You can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying, until next time, enjoy your comics.